radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Fade to Black. Today is Wednesday. You know what day it is. It's February 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, all you lovers out there. All right, let's do this, man. I'm excited about tonight's show. Sev Tok is with us, and you can help support the show and everything that we do around here by getting yourself a Fade to Black t-shirt. Two shirts, two ways to get them. The links are below, and if you get a Game Changer membership, you get your autographed shirt. That's right. It includes shipping, and you're also going to get Fade to Black coffee from River Moon. Okay, while supplies last, I'm good to go for now. So get your Fade to Black membership, your Game Changer, right now, and help support the show. Tonight, Sev Tok is with us. We're going to be talking about contact, her life of contact, and her service and support to others. It's a conversation I've been waiting and wanting to have with her for a very long time. So tonight it goes down. Tomorrow night, Dr. Damon Abraham is with us. Technology meets parapsychology. Tech meets psi and everything in between tomorrow night with Damon Abraham. But tonight, it's Sev Tok. She's with us for the first time, and I don't want to hear anything. It's about time, Jimmy. Well, yeah, I get that. I've been following Sev forever, and she's amazing. And tonight we're going to talk about her work, both as an experiencer advocate, but of course, ET contactee. The message is that ET gives us to help save humankind. We'll be doing that. How to initiate contact. We'll jump into that too as well. The importance of your personal vibration when communicating with ET or NHI. That's what they call them today, right? Non-human intelligences. Yeah, NHIs. And there is nothing that changes your life more than contact. And we're going to be doing all of that. She is a speaker. She's an author. She's an experiencer, a ufologist. She's an advocate. She's originally hailed from Istanbul. That's right, Turkey. And then came over to the United States as a young girl and moved here not knowing how to speak English. Yeah, I think she learned it from the Brady Bunch like I did, and like everybody else does. I got a little bit from Speed Racer. And then later she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Loyola University. Is that Loyola here? Which one? We will find out. And we're going to do that and a whole lot more tonight. Her website, it's below. It's on social media and also over on our website, planetsev.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time, Sev Tok. There she is. There's Sev.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, everybody. Such an honor to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, and I get to say Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's, Jimmy Church. Never thought I would ever say those words. But
okay, so let's just cut to the chase. Sev Tok on Fade to Black with Jimmy on Valentine's Day. Let the rumors begin. Let them start. Let them go. You know, let them do their thing. Sev, but here's the deal. You get the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, which is, Sev, it's just you and I sitting on my couch. having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. We're already friends, but we will continue to be friends after tonight's show. You have to accept.
I accept.
Now we can move on. All right. So, here with you, and just let me say this. I have been following you for a long time and watching your social media posts. I watched the recent documentary series, ABC News, I think it was. I saw that you were great, by the way. That was great job. But I've been following you for a very long time, and watching yourself work your way around the UFO community, up at the MUFON Symposium. That was really cool, right? But I want to start way before all of that and ask you the very simple question. But take me to your first moment of contact.
My first conscious memory comes from the age 10. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm getting a bit of feedback, but that's okay. You don't hear it? No. Okay. So what I remember is from the age of 10 to 12, and it happened so many times that I lost count. At night, I would find myself standing outside in the grass, and I would see this spaceship flying over to me. And from each time, it came from a different direction. And it would come right over me and hover right over my head. And I would see the bottom of it. And it was so big, I couldn't see the sky. And each time I was so happy because I felt like I was seeing a relative, someone that I loved. And the spaceship would land and stairs would descend, and this being would come out and walk down and stand with me and talk with me. And he looked more human than non. He had dark hair and dark clothes. And he was young, like 20s, seemed like. And he was just always checking up on me, making sure I was okay. And then I would find myself back in my bedroom. And each time, this is a sign of ET contact. This happens a lot. When you wake up like ding, like you're fully, completely alert. It's not groggy. You're not sleepy. It's like you were sleeping, and the next thing you know, ding, you're completely, fully alert. And that's how I would find myself in my bedroom. And I would be very confused because my bedroom didn't feel as real as when I was with that space brother, I call him. He felt real, and my life in this bedroom didn't feel real. Now, I'm only in 5th grade, and that's very confusing to me. And I could have said something to my parents, but I never did. They were very open. They were believers, but I still said nothing. I hid this secret for years, for decades. And after I realized, oh, okay, I'm back in my bedroom that doesn't feel real, I just have to forget about this, and I have to get dressed, and I have to go to 5th grade and try and be normal. And that's how I lived the rest of my life, just trying to be normal, hiding decades and decades of ET contact. And the last time I saw my space brother, I was 12. And this time I was with a group of children. And I had never been with other kids before. And we were lined up, and we're about the same height. So I figure we're about the same age. And we were watching this spaceship go away, and we were really, really sad because we knew we weren't going to see him again. And that's when I heard in my head, get to work. You have work to do. And I had no idea what that meant. Now, I think I have an idea of what that means. So that is my first conscious memory.
And was it to you, was it real? Right? I mean, this was you have to figure this out for yourself, and especially at that age. Is this something that you're imagining? Or is this something where, yes, you were outside, you saw this craft, you are somehow appearing back in your bedroom, and you understood that this was an actual, real physical experience?
Absolutely, it was real because it felt more real than this. And when you're a kid, that's a very strange concept. No one talks about that. And for me to feel that, for me, is validation. That I experienced something more real than this, that some people call a dream. Because a lot of ET contact, as you well know, happens in this multidimensional, interdimensional way, which is dreamlike. But it's not a dream. And this is why millions of people are actually having ET contact, but they're not aware of it because they call it a dream or a fantasy or an imagination or something like that. But because it happens through these dimensions and we're not trained to understand what that is, we don't even have a word for that experience other than dream. I'd like to come up with another word. I don't like the word dream for these things because they're not, they're real.
It's been that way throughout history, hasn't it? You go back thousands of years. Today we don't have the word. Well, let's go back 5,000 years. They definitely didn't have the word, right? And what the only descriptors that they could use, gods or angels or spirits, ghosts, goblins, right? Leprechauns, and that they didn't have it in their vocabulary, and I totally agree. Today we still don't, right? We use words like I say descriptors again, interdimensional, parallel worlds, light beings. We don't have a word for it yet. It's going to be a great day when we, actually figure out what's going on.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to come up with new words for these experiences, and I haven't been able to come up yet. Come up with any. For instance, I'm tired of the word experiencer. I want a new word for that, but I can't come up. ET contactee? I don't know.
Do you remember? Did you watch the TV show? Oh no, it just got away from me. People of Earth.
I love that show. And it's part of my Roswell story, actually.
Yeah, right. So, do you remember when they in one of their meetings they argued if they were contactees or experiencers?
Oh.
We're not contactees, we're experiencers, right? But that's exactly the point. And it also makes me feel that whoever wrote that show listened to Fade to Black, listen to Sev Tok, right? Listen to our community, because it felt too real. And it's also spilling over into other TV shows and other media where they're using these words. The movie Nope that came out last year, great movie, ET Contact, about right here in my neighborhood, by the way. But so this guy works at an electronics store, and he turns to the brother and sister who are seeing stuff over their ranch, and he goes, "Dude, they don't call them UFOs anymore. They're called UAPs." and I thought, see, this is where the creators of that content are paying attention to our community and the difficulties that we have with our own vocabulary and the way that we talk about things, and to have it go that far into mass media, I think it says a lot. The world is understanding more and more about us.
Yes, and it's delightful. I haven't been in the UFO world for very long. It's only been about 5 years, but there's been a huge difference in these 5 years, because when I wrote my book, I had no intention of coming out, Jimmy, none, for my entire life up until 5 or 7 years ago. I had no intention of coming out. And when I did come out, I was very worried about what my clients were going to think, what my family, what my friends were going to think. Was I going to lose my business? I was just so worried. But and we could talk about this a little bit more if you'd like. I found Kathleen Marden.
Mhm.
And, she says hi, by the way. And I talked with her, and she changed my life, and she validated everything for me. And after I talked with her, I still didn't know what I was going to do. And I didn't have to know. I'm like, I'll just let it organically happen, whatever's going to happen. And then a couple months later, I woke up one morning and I declared I'm writing a book. But I didn't go to sleep thinking about writing a book. I woke up and I said, I'm writing a book, I'm coming out. And I don't know what happened that night. But for me to do that, that was huge, huge. But it's the best thing I've ever done.
How freeing is that? And that's the first question. But then, with what you have learned how to deal with it, right? Come out of the closet, or however you want to put it, you can turn around and help others with the same road that you traveled.
Yes. Before I answer that question, I just want to say one thing, because I'm looking at everybody who's left messages here on your comments, and it's so many people. And I just want to thank everybody so much. And I also noticed a friend of mine who's a fellow Turk, Arzu. So I just wanted to say hello to Arzu. It's nice to have another Turkish girl here. Okay. Yeah. So I am an experiencer advocate, and I help experiencers around the world. If any of your listeners or watchers are experiencers and just need some help processing, understanding, or just to get it off your chest, it's really important. You can contact me through my website. Tell me your story. I'll contact you and I'll help you. We can email, or we can have a private consultation. And what I have learned through my own personal experience, and also through helping experiences around the world, is that the longer we carry this lie that, oh no, I didn't have contact, oh no, that was just my imagination, the longer we continue to be fake, that permeates through every single part of your life. Because it's not like meeting someone in the grocery store. You just came face to face with this non-human entity, this being from another planet, another galaxy, another dimension, and you're trying to ignore it. And you can't. You can't just compartmentalize it and put it over here and say, okay, I'm going to pretend like that never existed, and I'm going to live the rest of my life happy and successful and fruitful and peaceful. It doesn't work that way, because that permeates everything. It's always there in the back of your head, your inability to be authentic. And we all know that when you're authentic, that's when you're the happiest, the most successful, all of that. And so that is what I learned. Once I started to deal with this, because in my spiritual journey, the ETs, specifically the Greys, were my biggest fear in life. Absolute biggest fear. I was scared of nothing more than the Greys. And for me to face that hurdle and to process it and move through it changed my life so beautifully. And now I feel that I'm showing up authentically, and my life has changed beautifully because of it. And this is what I help experiencers do. I help them get it off their chest, first of all. That's the most important thing. It's important to come out to yourself. You don't have to write a book or go on TV or do anything like that, but you have to come out to yourself. And hopefully you can find someone like me or someone else, non-judgmental person. MUFON offers this too. I'm on the Experiencer Resource Team. I'm also the state director for North Carolina. And I help experiencers see that there's actually a huge benefit to this, that we don't have to be victimized by it. Because I lived most of my life as a victim. I was in 2 abusive marriages, and I blamed everything on everybody else. And The Greys and the ETs actually helped me see what I was doing, because I was so afraid of the Greys because I thought they were victimizing me too. And then once I started to understand what was happening, I realized the Greys were never victimizing me. They were helping me. They were helping me uh, because I had this deep, deep burning desire to be the real me, the most authentic version of myself I could possibly be. And they helped me do that. And so I help experiencers adopt maybe a different perspective. You don't have to look at it from the victim lens. You can look at it from another lens too. But all of that depends on how are you looking at your life? How are you looking at yourself? If you're looking at yourself through the lens of victimization, you're going to perceive everything that way, even ET contact. But if you don't look at yourself or life through the lens of victimization, then you can actually really start to understand what's happening around you. You can process it, you can understand it, and you feel more in control. You don't feel that things like you're a little ball in a pinball machine. You feel like you do have some control over your emotions, your feelings, the decisions about how you want to live your life. So ET contact is very, very, very deep, profound, complicated. And once you start to peel those layers back, there's so much beauty there, so much beauty. And the messages that the ETs are giving us are fantastic, fantastic messages. From my experience, I see that they tend to fall into 5 categories. They're giving humans information about the hybridization program, about how to strengthen your own psychic abilities. They give us information about the potential fate of humanity. And they also give us information about scientific innovation. And the most important, actually, is the information they give us about spirituality and self-empowerment that the government doesn't want us to know.
Yeah, I've known Kathleen for a very, very long time. And I'm going to guess, I'm going to say it was probably about 5 years ago. I came in to a room. She's sitting and she pats the couch and goes, "Jimmy, come here and sit down." And I sat with Kathleen and talked for maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. I got up and thought to myself, that is the coolest person I've ever met in my life. Right there, Kathleen Marden. And what a special, special person. And she let me know not only that it's okay, but she has managed to work through this too, to mature into this beautiful soul that she is today. But she had a life of dealing with stuff, and she figured it out, and she decided that I was going to go and help others too. And here we are today, Sev. It's Valentine's Day. So let's talk about that part of it. How do you, as an experiencer, contactee, NHI conversationalist, whatever you want to call it, right? How do you approach your significant other, especially if you've never discussed it? What are the tips and tricks here?
Well, when I came out, I was with a gentleman who I'm no longer with. And he was very supportive, very helpful. I talk about him in my book. And then we split up, and I didn't date for a year, and then I started dating someone, and it's always the first thing I say. And he was cool. He was into it. He was a believer. And these days, I'm coming across a lot more believers and a lot more people who don't think it's weird. And so that's working in my benefit, to my benefit. But I'm not dating anybody now, and I don't know what the next person or the next guy is going to be, or what he's going to say, or how he's going to feel. I don't know. But I cannot have a relationship with someone who doesn't believe this. I mean, that's completely out of the question.
Is it okay? So Is it the first? Is it the first thing out of the gate? Right, you sit down. The waiter, the server, comes over and says, "Can I get you something to drink?" Yes, and you order it. And okay. Let's talk about UFOs. Is that what you do? Is it like out of the gate? Is it kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off? Do you go straight there?
Well, the chances are I'd probably talk to the guy before we actually went and sat down for our first date. Probably have some conversations before that. But yes, I have to say it right off the bat because I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah. Here's what I think the dilemma is, and it certainly applies to me. If you date somebody inside of the community, then you are exposed on both sides. Is that a good thing? Or if you know what I mean? Because you're going to know everything about each other, about the subject. But if you date outside of the community, that's also an issue in that you don't want to freak anybody out, but you also need to be honest. It's like, I'm not sure which is the better scenario.
That's an interesting point. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, when I did get together with my ex's family, nobody talked about it. They all knew what I did, but not a single solitary person would ask me a single question about it. Nothing. Yeah. So, and that's okay. I'm so used to that's perfectly okay. But what you just brought up about not dating someone in the UFO world is difficult, and the dating someone outside of the UFO world is difficult. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, well, they both have, I would say, their advantages and disadvantages. And you don't want to be, right? It's Valentine's Day. Okay, so let's stay on this subject for a second. So you go to your new boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and let's say it's me, right? And I'm meeting their parents, and it's Thanksgiving. And her dad sits down at the table. So, alien boy, right? I mean, how do they deal with it if they don't understand what the community is about? Now, chances are maybe they're into the subject and they have questions, right? How does Sukalos get his hair up? Right? Maybe they'll go there. I don't know. But I would think, oh, here comes Sev. Here comes Sev. Here we go. We're going to talk about aliens at Thanksgiving again, which I think is a good thing. But I'm not too sure which scenario's the better one. But one of them has to play out.
Maybe. Yeah, you bring up such
Okay. So you start your dating, right? You're dating. And you meet the parents, right? But they don't know anything. And a couple of months down the road, mom is channel surfing, and there you are on TV, right?
Yeah.
So then the aliens came down and we started talking. They got to find out like that.
No, I wouldn't want them to find out like that. No, they would know beforehand. And chances are the person that I'm going to have a relationship with probably comes from people that are fairly open-minded.
Let's hope.
Yeah, I mean, and also, Jimmy, as we were talking earlier, these days, it's just, it's actually the cool thing to be in. It's cool now, where it wasn't cool just a few years ago, but now it's kind of cool. And so the stigma has really diminished. So that's in our favor.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up. The old joke used to be, cue the X-Files music, right? That was the old joke. And it was an honest statement because I've had it done to me. And it wasn't a good, okay, man. Okay. So I remember ABC News, Sev, comes to my house and does an interview. Okay. And we do it. And I tell the guy, I go, dude, I swear to God, you play the X-Files music tonight. Oh, no, Jimmy. Oh, no. We're taking this. It'll be the last interview you ever do. They played the X-Files music. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't dig it. Now, and that went out across the United States, right? Every single Good Morning America show in the country played that. I was getting email from friends from elementary school. And I was not happy about that. But nobody else mentioned it. I felt like they were making a joke. But today, you're right. It's not that kind of party. What do you think shifted? Because you're in this now. You're the MUFON state director. You've done your TV stuff. You've been out there speaking, and there's a shift that has happened. What flipped the switch? What made it suddenly okay?
I think it was the congressional hearings. Mm-hmm. And even though a lot of people didn't watch them, I did. And on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev, I made a video recapping the congressional hearings for anyone who didn't want to watch it, just bringing up some of the important points about the hearings. It was very interesting. And then there was the one with Bush. I really think that changed everything.
When David Grush crossed the line, and he did too. He didn't just cross the line; he jumped across the line. How do you think we have the public certainly and the media, but how do you think the members of Congress were digesting what he was saying? Because we have alien craft, we've got bodies. I know where they are. I can give you the addresses, and this was under sworn testimony. And on Capitol Hill, how do you think those elected officials were taking it?
Well, I really don't know how much those elected officials know, to tell you the truth. What we're told, what the public is told, is that this kind of UFO information is on a need-to-know basis, and the president might not even know. This is what we're being told. And so I don't know how many of those on the panel know what they know. I think some know quite a bit. And I think the cat's out of the bag. And you can see Congress doing whatever they need to do to kind of try and cover it back up or to muddle it up. I have a couple theories, or I have a theory about what might come next. But like I said, the cat's out of the bag. There's nothing they can do anymore, except for this one possible scenario, which I kind of see happening. I hope it doesn't really come to fruition, but I'm beginning to see the government, it feels like starting to plant ideas into the mind of society that experiencers are talking to ETs that are demons. So there's a difference between an ET and an angel. And so it's okay to talk to angels, but it's not okay to talk to ETs because they're demons. And I'm starting to see that narrative play out. And that's what's scaring me, because it could very well be that we know the government is trying to instill fear in us regarding the ETs. And so now if they start poking fun at the experiencers and saying that we're evil and we're playing with an ugly element, when that saucer shows up in the sky, maybe it could be a hologram, create a fake war because they're demons and they're bad. And let's get rid of the experiencers and let's fight these demons. And I can kind of start to see that happening.
The other side of that is that maybe, and this is, I want to ask you about this. if ET, and they should be, if they're coming here, they're more advanced than us. We're not going there that we know of yet, right? So let's just base it on that scenario. If they are getting here through faster than light, through portals, wormholes, however they are doing it, they're advanced beings, which would suggest to me the possibility, Sev, that they would be the ones in control of disclosure and how it goes down and what those secrets are. And the government is not in control of ET. I think the opposite would be true, right?
Eventually, but in the meantime, until they land, what's going to happen? If they land, and why should they land? Yeah.
Does the idea of, and you've heard the same rumors and chatter that I have, some false flag, Project Blue Beam, holograph, thing plays out. But the first time that somebody sees something like this, there's going to be somebody with a rifle. Somebody's going to go out in their front yard and start shooting at this, and the bullets are going to go through the hologram, and they're going to see that the ship isn't real. So I would think that the false flag scenario, unless you have a real craft up in the sky, the government is doing that. But if it's something else, something that's projected, that's only going to last for so long. We're going to be able to figure that out fairly quickly. Wouldn't that backfire on the government if they took that approach?
Well, not if you put these holograms in the sky so high that you can't possibly shoot it or touch it or anything like that. It's like a movie way miles up in the sky. And I had this really strange experience in my house. I had a friend come to spend the night, and it was the first time she was coming to visit me. And it wasn't in this house. It was the other house that I was in, which is about 15 minutes from here, which is where I had the 2 X's burned into my tush, which changed my life. But anyway, so she comes over and I put her in the guest bedroom, which is right across from my bedroom. And then we go to sleep and I'm awakened in the middle of the night because she's getting into my bed. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "I'm scared." I'm like, okay. And then I felt this strong presence, and I turned around, and at the foot of my bed was this tall, dark, shadowy being with a hat, a suit hat, tall, dark. It was darker than the night, the darkness of my bedroom. And I'm looking at it, and it scared me so much because I felt energy come out of it and into me, like into my chest, and like had tentacles. And I felt like it was trying to pull my essence out of me. Like it was just trying to take me. And I fought it and I fought it and I fought it. We had this energetic battle. And I kept saying, "You will not win. You will not win. You have to go. You will not win. You will not win." Finally, it left. And I like to tell this story to remind people that you are in control. Don't play the victim here, that you can stand up and demand that they leave, but you have to want them to leave with every cell in your body. And so it finally left, and I just went back to sleep. And we got up in the morning, and I asked her, "Did anything weird happen to you last night?" She goes, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Okay, you go first." She said, "Well, there's, the bedroom in the spare bedroom, the window was open and it looks out over the water. And I just woke up in the middle of the night and I looked out the window, and there in the sky was a hologram of Jesus Christ. And I hear in my head, we can do this, we can put anything in the sky like that and have you believe it." At the same time, I'm having this experience with this tall astral men in black, is what I call it. Then I told her, "Oh, yeah, well, you came into my bedroom and you said you were afraid. Is that when you came in?" And she goes, "I never came into your bedroom." I said, "Oh, yes, you did. You came right into the bed. I mean, I was awake, like I was sitting up in the bed." And she goes, "No, I never did that." And I'm like, So we both just looked at each other and we're like, okay, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Let's just pretend like it didn't happen. But what's interesting to me is that somehow this tall fat man is related to that holograph image.
Do you, and I've got 50 questions. Do you think that the tall being in your room was ET? Now,
No.
you can answer no. That's a good answer. But, which was the second part of my question, is everything connected though? Right? So the same thing, the same process, the same science, the same phenomena behind something appearing in your room and being there is the same type of science behind the phenomena of everything else in the universe. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Very possibly, because we all travel through dimensions. So this being came from another dimension into here. Now, where did this being come from? Did someone send it? Can our government actually consciously mess with us? Can our government or another organization send out these, I don't know what they would be, just this form of some kind of consciousness sent to infiltrate us? Can our government do that? Can other organizations do that? I don't know. I did not feel that, I don't know how to describe it, but I didn't feel that it was ET like a gray or anything like that. It felt very evil, and it had an agenda, definitely, and it didn't really even feel like it came from off planet. And I really think it was attached to my friend, because she had just fallen down that rabbit hole of Hillary Eats Babies and Pizzagate and all that and QAnon, and she just kept going down and down. And she was a spiritual teacher, and she just kept spiraling down and down and down. And that's nothing but existing in a dimension of fear. That's a low vibration. And so I believe that that entity is attracted to fear. And, you know, wherever we go, we take our astral peeps with us. So she came to visit me and she brought her buddy over. And I guess it thought, oh, well, let me see what I can, if I have a chance with Sev, see what I can do with her. And it didn't work. I sent it away. Yeah. But it was very, very, very scary, Jimmy, because it did feel like I was fighting for my life.
Because, and we were talking about this earlier, so this is a good way to circle back to this, where we haven't had the right words to use, like ever, with this. And it makes me think that when you hear folklore or mythology or eyewitness accounts, you know, that go back millennia about little people in the woods, or the troll under the bridge, or, you know, and you go back and you look at these stories. Well, that's the way they were repeated, but were they seeing something else?
Yeah.
And that's the way that it just kind of gets, you know, comes out of the laundry. You know, it gets washed over and over again. And now it's a story about a troll under a bridge, or the little folk in the woods, or on the island, or what have you. And it just makes me wonder, you know, you look at folklore, look at the Bible, or look at any other mythology, and it seems like we're just talking about the same thing.
I agree with you. It is very possible that what we thought were gods back then were just really extraterrestrials with powers that we humans don't even realize that we have. And it's very possible that if someone saw a fairy or an elf or an elemental, that that they could possibly mistake it for something else, something evil, or maybe think that they're crazy. So that brings us back to one of the biggest problems of being an experiencer is the constant battle of thinking that you're crazy.
Yeah,
And it's hard
psychosis.
to live life like that. It's very hard.
And okay, and it also, I'm going to say this, there's a transformation that goes on with those people. And we people, those people. Who do you mean, you people? Well, I'm talking about me too, as well. So, where their mind is now opened up, they're more understanding about the world and nature and questioning, and they go through a transformation. They become cool, right? If you know what I mean, right? They become cool. Did you see that same transformation in yourself?
Mm.
I'm not saying you were uncool.
I understand. When you say become cool, what does that mean? You become more spiritual, or what do you mean by more cool?
Yeah, there are, the people that what they are like that don't ponder or believe in anything.
Oh,
You know what like the dean of your high school was not cool, right? But but that dean, right, that has never smoked weed or done anything cool or listened to Led Zeppelin, suddenly makes contact with ET. The next day, that's a transformation. And so did you do the same thing? What was your transformation like?
okay. Before I answer that question, do you know Grant Cameron's book, Tuned In?
Of course.
Okay. For those of you who are watching and listening, if you don't know, Grant Cameron wrote this excellent book called Tuned In about our most famous rock stars who have channeled their hits, who've seen ETs, who've seen flying saucers. It's a really good book. And it's just about every famous, doesn't it feel like every single famous person is in that book, famous rock stars in that book, and they've all just about all have had these experiences dealing with these interdimensional beings.
When he was writing that book, all right, now I love Grant. He's one of my close friends, but I'm going to say that when he was writing that book, one day, and he was telling me the ideas behind it, and he knows, everybody knows about me and music, and some music was playing in the background, and some people started dancing, and I watch Grant try to dance.
Jimmy.
and I said to Grant, "Are you the right person to write this book?" Oh man, but the book is amazing, and he forced me to rethink some of the great songs of all time, right? And I would go back and read the lyrics and listen to, I don't care if it's Neil Young, I never heard that in the music. Now when I hear it, all I hear is aliens and ET in contact. It's great. That is a great book.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that before I answered your question, and now I don't remember your question.
The question was, what was your transformation like?
Okay. Well, because I didn't learn English until I was 7 years old, I started first grade not knowing English here. I do think that helped strengthen my psychic abilities because I couldn't understand what anybody was saying. So I just understood what was happening because I wanted to understand. So I think that had something to do with my spiritual foundation growing up. And my parents were very spiritual. My parents were old school Turkish people who were supposed to be Muslim, but they're not Muslim. And they were very spiritual and they were before their time. And so my sister and I were taught how to meditate when I was in 5th grade. And I would go into this walk-in closet, shut the door, sit down and meditate, and then come out and tell my parents what I saw, felt, what I heard. And so I've been on this spiritual journey since elementary school. Uh, Now, what the Greys, it was the Greys. When the Greys burned 2 red X marks into my tush, and then that stopped me in my tracks because then I realized these are not dreams, because dreams cannot burn 2 red X marks into my back. And that's when I had an existential crisis, because that's
You
when
you had kids cover your ears. You had one on each bun.
yes. Let me see
They
if I
weren't. They weren't. Yeah, they weren't next to each other.
no.
There, it was one on each side, right? And they were pretty good size too.
There were a couple inches.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't know. There's the first one that was on the left cheek. And then there's my whole butt, and you can see one there and one here. I can't. Okay. And
I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, "That is crazy town."
I know. And to this day, I have not met or found anyone that has X's like that. And when I first met Kathleen Marden, she said, "I've never seen X's like that." And so I'm hoping that someone contacts me and says, "I have X's too." Now, why an X? Well, we were talking about the X Files and the X this and the X that. It seems like in the UFO world, X is everywhere. I don't know why, including on my tush. It's an ancient symbol. I don't think we even fully understand what the X stands for. Why on my tush? I think there were 2 reasons. I think one, just to finally get my attention, because the Greys have been trying to get my attention for years, and I've been ignoring them. And secondly, Kundalini energy. Kundalini energy sits in that part of your body down there. And when it's activated, and you can activate it in a few ways, you don't need an ET to activate it. All of a sudden, you have this desire to know the truth about everything. And that's exactly what happened to me. I had to know the truth about me, about us, about everything. I'm all about the truth and authenticity. And the Greys, I really do believe the Greys helped me along with that.
Did it hurt?
I didn't feel it.
Okay, wait. Can I ask a real question?
I don't know.
How did you? How did? How did you? Come on, let me get it out. How did you see it?
Okay, that's a good question. So, I had just moved here to the inner banks of North Carolina from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. in 2017. And it was the second morning that I was here. And I was in the kitchen unpacking dishes. And I felt something bite my butt, and it hurt. So I yelled over to him, "I think something just bit my butt. Will you look at it?" He's like, "Yeah." So I go over to the living room and I bend over and he's looking at it. And that's how he found it. The second one, and he was shocked just as much as I was. And I said to him, "We're going to ignore it. We're going to pretend like this X was never there." And he just looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "Well, this has been my MO for my whole entire life. I have ignored everything that's happened to me, and I'm going to do it again." It's like, okay. And he was a very, very, very logical person. This was all very new to him. Although we did go to Roswell together and something really strange happened there that had to do with people of Earth. And so I tried to forget about it, but I couldn't. It was just constantly here in the forefront of my mind all the time. I actually went around and I sat down on things. I'm like this, trying to figure out if anything could burn an X in my tush that I wouldn't even feel. Because when I
Right.
ran my finger across it, I couldn't even feel it. And it looks like 9 little red burn marks, and they're equidistant. This X has been around the world and people have measured it. Equidistant. So 9 days later, ding, I'm in my bedroom, my eyes pop open. I'm like, oh no. And then in that instant, I have this gush, this download of a memory. And I was on this bed, like a hospital type bed. And I was lying on my side. And I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. and I felt paralyzed. And I was in a room that I did not recognize, which was very dimly lit. And I sensed there was something behind me, and I could move my neck. So I turned around, and standing right here was a gray. And I drew a picture of him. And we locked eyes, standing right behind me, like right here. And we looked into each other's eyes. And in my book, I describe it as looking into two pools of black oil. And I was scared. And it didn't say anything to me, because in all my other experiences with the Greys, there was always telepathic communication. But this time it was nothing. And that scared me even more. So I turned my head back around, and I'm in my bedroom. So I have that rush of memory, and I'm very worried, and I'm very scared. And I get out of bed, and I go downstairs, and he always got up before I did, but this time he didn't. So I'm waiting for him, and I'm very nervous, because if I have another X on me, I didn't think I was going to be able to take it. I thought I would lose it. So he comes downstairs, and I ask him, did anything weird happen last night? He goes, no. Was I missing at all from the bed? I don't recall that you were. You didn't see any lights or anything? He's like, what happened? So I told him, but this time, Jimmy, there was a detail about this experience that I had never had in any of my other experiences. And this time, when I was on that bed in that room, I knew I was on the moon. So I tell him all this, and then I ask him, will you look at my butt? And so he does, and there's just silence. He says nothing. And I knew it. And like, well, is there another X? He goes, yeah, another X, just like the first one, but this time it's on the right cheek, and it's direct across from the other one.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so this is my existential crisis, because at this moment I realized it's all been real. All of the CT contact I've had my whole time, it was real. Like, I can't hide it anymore. And then I felt like I knew nothing. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what human beings were. I didn't know why they were messing with me, because back then I was afraid of them. And it's very hard to describe, but it was like I was suspended in nothing. Like I knew nothing. Like I was born again, like starting all over again. And it was very, very scary. And I started to cry. And then I calmed myself down, and I said to him, I need help. And that was the first time in my life I ever admitted that I needed help for this. And I said, someone has to help me, because I can't take it.
And what
And
about him? He needs some help too. I'm telling you, I know you must have been going through some trauma. I get that. It's your butt, right? Those are your X's. But if I'm the one looking at that, that's like Alfred Hitchcock in Vertigo, right? The pullback of the camera, the room is spinning, what, right? It would have to be like that. I don't know how I would react to. Wow.
yeah.
Whew, man.
Well, he was very supportive, very, very supportive. He didn't mock it at all. Well, because he experienced something that he couldn't even explain. In Roswell, also, he said, I have never experienced this before, but this is what happened. And so I found that if I have a relationship with someone, they just naturally tend to become more sensitive to the other dimensions. It just naturally happens. And so when I said I needed help, I didn't know who I was going to get help from, because I was so afraid of the Greys that I didn't watch any movies. I didn't read any books. I only looked at the cover of Communion once and then flipped it over and never looked at it again. I was afraid of everything. Now I can look at that book. That's how I know I healed. Like, I think that book, if you can look at that book, I think you can deal. If you can't look at that book, I think you have a problem that you have to investigate. That's a very interesting cover. What Whitley has done there. It's very interesting. And so I said, I'm just going to let it organically happen. I don't know how I'm going to get help, but I'm just going to let it organically happen. This is how I live my life. I just say I will let it organically happen. So a couple months.
That sounds like a movie I would watch, right? Okay, honey, we're gonna find out about these exes. Right? How long? I laugh because I am nervously uncomfortable. It must have just been a crazy experience to go through. But let me stay on this for a little bit, Sev, if that's okay. How long did they last? How long did they stick around?
It was just a couple of weeks. It wasn't very long. I don't have them anymore.
No scars or anything like that?
I don't think so. I mean, no one's over there for a while, so I don't know what's going on over there. But I'll tell you, if something weird happens to me, one of the first things I do is go to the mirror and check my butt.
Yeah, I'd be doing that. Pants down. Oh, you know what, everybody? I'm going to share something, Sev, with everybody, what happened before the show. So I went out to get coffee. Sev is watching me. She can see me. I can see her. You guys can't see what's going on. The show is starting, and I went out to get coffee, and my pants just kind of moved down a little bit, and I didn't want to sit down. So I came in front of the chair, and I pulled my shirt down, and I pulled my pants up like this to sit down, and I was looking in the. I thought, man, what is Sev thinking right now? I sat down and went, man, that was uncomfortable. But
I had a friend spend the night, another girlfriend, and she spent the night. And so we get up in the morning, and I'm like, everything okay? She's like, oh, I don't know. I have this mark on my tush. Will you look at my butt? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'll look at your butt. So she pulled down her pants. It was a bruise on her butt. So I can't say that was ET, but now I have the feeling that anyone who comes and spends the night at my house, it's going to happen.
Yeah, butt check in the morning over coffee. Okay, everybody, you know what we have to do? So,
why did it have to be my butt?
Did it itch or anything?
Nothing. If he had not have seen it, if I didn't feel like a bug bite, and there was a bug bite next to it, if I didn't feel that, I might not have ever seen that X.
Yeah. Wow. Let's take our break right here. We'll come back and I was gonna say we'll pick up where we left off. No, we're gonna move on. When we come back, our guest tonight, Sev Tok. We are talking about her life of ET contact and service to others. All of that and much more. Stay with it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now.
My job is not to preach. My job is to take you on this journey.
In a state of passion, nothing negative can happen.
That it's the moons of those planets that would have life.
Sometimes I see, these energies also in your field.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. This is Jimmy Church. Please visit and explore Egypt this October 3rd through the 14th, 2024 with Billy, Elizabeth, myself, and very special guest, Matt LaCroix. It's simple to do. Just go to forbiddenknowledge.com and click on upcoming tours, or click on the link below. We'll see you there. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. And right now, if you get a Game Changer membership for a limited time, you will get Fade to Black Blend coffee with your Game Changer membership. That's right. We have 2 t-shirts. We have the original, the classic Fade to Black t-shirt. You know you want one. Post a picture, send it to us. We'll put it in our Fade to Black gallery. And we've got the new official Fade to Black t-shirt drawn by Michael Oming. 2 t-shirts, 2 ways to get them. Get yours today. Everything is in stock. Everything gets autographed. Everything includes shipping. And you're going to get a tracking number. And with a Game Changer membership, you get an email to me. You get unlimited commercial-free downloads of the show. Those are uploaded every single night after the show to the website. So don't delay. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Göbekli Tepe. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sev Tok is with us. What a great conversation. And boy, do I need my Fade to Black blend coffee. I used to do that every night on the show. I did that for years, remember? I haven't done that in a long time. Fade to Black blend. Tonight at Sev Tok. Sev.
You're funny.
Have you?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the commercials that we were watching, you mentioned Göbekli Tepe, which is from my homeland. Why did you mention Göbekli Tepe?
I have been, since the beginning, great question. Since the beginning of my broadcast career, I had always been interested in Göbekli Tepe and researching it, but nobody was talking about it. And so and this was after every Coast to Coast that I hosted for 7 years, every Fade to Black, every commercial, every sign off, I'll do it tonight during the news. I always say Göbekli Tepe. And why? Because I want people to go, what did he say? And then they can go and Google, right, however they want to spell it, and go and find out about it. I've been a huge supporter of Göbekli Tepe, and you can ask it if you mention Göbekli Tepe to somebody, chances are today they're going to go, oh, you like Jimmy Church too, and I like that, and I'll never stop. That will always be my sign off and commercials. So. There you go. Yeah. Now,
I haven't been yet. I'm dying to go to Göbekli Tepe. I just like to put it out there if anyone needs a Turkish translator.
Yeah, I'll take you. You'd be perfect. And you could be my hall pass. You could get me through Turkey unimpeded. Yes. Right. Have you ever been regressed?
I have twice. Once before this whole ET thing, that I was paying attention to it because I do soul purpose sessions and soul support sessions, and past lives come up in them. And I can tell people what a past life was, but I can't take them there, like in regression. So I was looking for someone that I could suggest my clients to. So I underwent that regression. It had nothing to do with ETs. And then after Roswell messed me up so much that after a few months, I was still not right. And I finally confided in a friend, and they suggested a regression therapist that was 3 hours from me that specialized in ETs. And so I went to her.
I recently, I said for many years I would never do it. I didn't want to know. I was happy with my life the way it is. If something happened, let it just sit there. I don't need to know. But I recently did it. I did it with Sarah Breskman Cosme, and we did it on camera. We did it for my TV show. And the stuff that came out of my mouth, right? It was crazy. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because apparently I went on a ship for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's what I say in the session. And I describe the beings that were there, and it kind of frightened me with what you just said with your experience in your bedroom. They were tall and black. All right. Not blue, not gray, not green, not yellow, not red. They were black, but they had arms and legs and a head, and they talked. And this is what I said in the session. Very strange comment, and things that I've never heard before, number one, from anybody. But I have never said, plus I didn't recall this until the session. I said they spoke Californian. Right. That they just spoke in a natural human, like they were from California. And and I'm not saying they were going, hey, dude, surfs up, on Seal Beach. They weren't talking like that, but they were speaking in a very natural, neutral, human voice, and I saw their lips move, and I say that in the session, and it was I've never heard. I've heard every type of being and things. I've interviewed everybody, Sev, you know this. And for me to say that, it didn't correlate or match up with anything that I've ever heard. And I found that strange. And you held up, the reason why I'm asking is you mentioned the being in your room, right, with the fedora. Very interesting, by the way. But you had the picture that you drew. what are the physical traits of your encounters? Have they all been the same?
No.
Or have they been different?
Oh, I'm sorry. I talked over you. First of all, I'd like to say something about that black being with the head and the arms. I have met an experiencer here in North Carolina, in the far western part of North Carolina, who had a crazy experience. He was lifted up out of his bed and taken through the wall, and then found himself on this grassy hill, and this hat man like guy showed up and then took him to this door on the side of a hill, and he went in, and there was like this big compound there, and he saw those black beings. They kind of looked like grays, but they were completely black. Yeah.
Wow. I'd like to talk to him. Though, and the ones that I encountered, now I can see it now, but I can only go off of what I said in the session, which is they were taller than me. It's a very hard thing to explain. Well, were they 8 feet tall? I don't know. I do know that in the room that I was in, by the way, there was no examination table. There was no stainless steel. It was dark. And there were like 11. I've counted this now over. There were 3 that were seated here, 3 that were seated over here. I could see their backs. They were seated and working, and 3 facing the wall this way. I'm looking at them sideways, and 2 that were standing on the far side of the room, and they were talking to each other, and their backs were to me. And I could see that they had it looked like maybe a piece of paper, or they were holding something and looking at it and talking. And the one on the left turns to me, looks at me, and he's like, I don't want to be cavalier, but he did this very nonchalant thing. Like, he turns and looks and goes, "What's up?" And then turned back and just, was talking to that person, but he acknowledged it. It was friendly. It was strange, and it just felt like I was hanging out with the guys. That's the best way I can put it. I don't have another. There was nothing, and nobody was really paying attention to me. They knew I was there, right? And then I heard them talking, and I could hear what they were saying, and I was watching them talk, and they were talking in English, and it wasn't telepathy. It was.
No, that's
Yeah, they were talking. Yeah.
Was there anything else in the room that you saw?
Not really. It was, and again, I have, I've talked to a few people of my production team, trying to, after the session, trying to explain a bit more about this. And I felt that the room was round, or that's wrong. Like dome, it was curved. I didn't see it curved. I'm not, and I didn't see it, but it felt that way, right? I didn't see flat walls, right? It just seemed like. But it was dark, and there were no windows. That was the other thing. I didn't know if I was on a ship or if I was in a room I could underground or in an office building or anything. But anyway, the only details that I could make out was that everybody seemed to be sitting at desk or, like a work surface or something. And maybe, I can't say this for sure, but it seemed like their faces were lit up from, like maybe, I don't want to say computer screen because I didn't see that, but it was very, very quick. But it felt like they were looking down maybe at something electronic maybe, and I could see, their faces were lit, but they were dark. They were black. even their faces. It was like shadowy. And here's one other thing I want to share with you. I want your opinion. They were, well, everything was, but especially them, they were out of focus. Yeah. And again, I've in the session, I said they were fuzzy, but it sounds like I'm saying they had fur or so. You know what I mean? Like they were. No, it's like they were like on the outside, on their outline. Everything was like, when you see somebody in a dark room or a nightclub or something, you don't see them perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that, like on the outside, but it was like that for everything that was in the room. It was just a little out of focus, fuzzy. I don't know. I don't know how it's very difficult to put into words. I can't. I try to explain it, and I don't want to jump to conclusions. Well, that's what it would be like in another reality, or in a parallel world, or something. I don't. Kind of sepia toned. I don't know. It was very, very strange.
Okay, so what you just said is interesting because I told you that I met an experiencer in Western North Carolina that saw these black beings, and he saw a very large computer screen, and there was a being in front of it, and there were symbols or equations on this screen, and this being that was sitting in front of the screen had all like these buttons next to him, and he was pressing these buttons.
Yeah, I want that experience. I didn't get that. I didn't get the bonus. I didn't get any of that.
Maybe you did, and you just don't remember, or you're not ready to know that part. And so, when did this happen to you? Not the regression, but the actual experience. Do you think
about 6-8 months ago?
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
I know the exact date. Yeah. That was the other eye opener.
How did you know?
Because I was with a group of people when it happened. Yeah, I know exactly where I was and the date and the time and everything else. What's that?
Were you in Egypt?
No, I was in Joshua Tree.
Oh, of course.
Of course, right? Had to be Joshua Tree. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about Joshua Tree before the show started.
And okay, here's the other twist to this. And since you're a researcher, just file this away for future reference. You heard it from me first, right? Okay. Again, 5 seconds. That's it. That's all I got. I looked around the room and then was gone. Okay. But during that short period of time, over in the corner, the two guys that I said were standing. Okay. So to the right of the guy standing on the right, the first guy seated, he's like hunched over and he's talking to somebody. And I say in the session that he's talking on a radio. Very strange thing to say, but that's what I say. All right. I can't come up with another word because that's what I said. So let's go with that. But I hear him very briefly, but I hear him talking to somebody. And it sounded like, again, very brief, right? Just a couple of seconds. But I hear him say something like, yeah, we're here. Everything's cool. And the guy on the speaker that he's talking to responds back, all right, man, it's great to see you. Right? Something like that, like this very strange, friendly interplay. And what I think I said this in the session, but my memory says it felt like the air traffic controller talking to an airplane that's going by, right? right? Hey, Bob, how's it going? It's going good, man. We're flying right over you now. Okay, cool. Yeah, we see you. Everything good? Everything's good. All right, man. We'll see you next time. See you next time. Great. Boom. How's the wife and kids? Wife and kids are good. All right, man. Catch ya. It was like that, but it felt, and I say in the session that it felt like it was the military.
Oh, yes.
And that was a very curious thing for me to say. They didn't say any military things. I didn't hear that, but that's what it felt like to me. And it was just I've never said, or nobody's ever talked to me about, and there's nothing like has been put in my head like this. I've never seen it in a movie. I've never read it in a book. I've never, you know what I mean? It's just like came out of nowhere. Yeah.
Okay. So that's even more interesting because the experiencer that I've been telling you about that has seen these black beings, at one point, a military Jeep showed up with a military guy driving it. So it feels like the both of you had a very similar experience, and there's humans related. There's humans in there somewhere.
I definitely feel that. I definitely.
So where were you exactly? What was
that? Well, let's suppose a couple of things like your friend or other experiencers or my lab programs and so forth. Let's assume that this is all true and real. Okay, I don't have any proof of anything. I just know what I said in therapy in the session. But let's assume that all of this is real. Then it would suggest that our own government is in contact and communicating with ET.
Mm-hmm.
And as I unpack this thought, that's pretty scary to me. Not scary like as in fear, but that everything is not as we are not, being told, first off, but second, that this interaction is happening like as you and I are talking right now, right? That this is going on somewhere. If it happened at that moment that I was in Joshua Tree, by the way, here's the other, if we're going to throw another log on the fire here, let's do this. 20 miles away from where this incident happened with me, and it did. There's the physical side and what we saw above us, but 20 miles away is 29 Palms, the Marine base. It's a huge training facility with a huge runway and everything else. And is there a connection there? And was that what was going on? I don't know. I do know this. So put that away in your research. And if you hear anything, certainly get back to me. I don't want to give away everything because I don't want to contaminate others' experiences and what they may reveal at another time. But what actually happened, the real part, was there were 20 of us on top of this hill. And we see this gold ball off to the west coming at us. And I was with Billy Carson and Elizabeth and like 18 other people. And Billy says, that's an airplane. We had lasers and night vision and stuff. And Billy says, don't shine your laser. Don't point your lasers at it. We don't want to get in trouble. We're up here having fun. Yes. And we respect that. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I don't know if that's a plane. And we're all looking at it and it's low in the sky. It's not high. It's very low. And it's coming straight at us. And as it comes over us, moving pretty slowly, it's a gold ball. Mm. And I put my knife, and there's no lights on it or anything. And I turned to Bill and I said, dude, that's not an airplane. And then it stops right in front of us or slows down. and then turns and goes straight up into the sky, turns into a star, and disappears. Okay, now that's what we all saw, all of us. And Billy says, as it goes straight up, as I live and breathe, Billy goes, I reserve the right to say that wasn't an airplane, right? And we all laugh, ha, 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 ha. Fast forward, when I went into this session, now that was our experience. We told everybody about this sighting. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun, and we're hooping and hollering, and there's this thing. So I go into the session with Sarah, and my higher self says, out of nowhere, Sev, out of nowhere, Jimmy doesn't know about this. And I go, and I watched the tape. I watched the tape when I say this, and I remember in the session, Sev, when my higher self is talking, I'm like, who's the third person in the room, right? What's going on here? This is really weird to me.
Yeah.
And my higher self says, Jimmy doesn't know about this, but this is what happened. And then boom, this 5-second thing. So while this thing was going over, and I tell the whole thing in the session, while it's going over, boop, I'm there, boop, I'm back. Yeah.
Well, what about Billy and Elizabeth or the other people? Were they on board? Or do they?
I haven't talked. I don't want to freak everybody out with this. It's kind of funny. I talked to Billy for a while today and yesterday, and I was with him on New Year's. I flew out to his house in Miami, and I haven't discussed this with him. And you know why? I don't want to hear him say, I swear on everything that I love. I don't want to hear him say, yeah, man, you kind of blanked out there for like 5 seconds. I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear it. Like, dude, yeah, now come to think of it. So, but yeah. And that's my experience.
How come you don't want to hear it?
You know, it's like, is it some kind of confirmation bias, right? Where you find out something that you thought was maybe a dream or voices in the other room that you thought that you heard. And then you find out the next day that somebody else heard the same voices and there was something going on. And then it confirms. And then, you know, it's like, oh man, this is crazy. That's the part where so I'm kind of stuck in the middle of this. I'm comfortable with it. I am. I said what I said. I'm going to stay with that. But do we really need to know? Like if so ET shows up, right? ET shows up like you were mentioning earlier. ET shows up, stairs come down, right? And here comes Elvis or whoever. It goes, all right, where's Jimmy Church? I don't need that. What? Yeah.
I think it's time for you to face it. Considering what you do for a living, I think it's time. And there's probably you were on there for more than 5 seconds.
I know. See, again, that's why I didn't want to be regressed in the first place. Right? That's exactly it. Maybe.
Yeah.
And I was with Sarah this weekend, and she's the best. She's one of my best friends, and she's just such an unbelievable person. She's so cool. Her family, her husband, the luckiest people in the world. Our community is lucky to have her. She's amazing. But she says to me, we were talking privately. She goes, I think we should do it again. And I go, no, no, I'm good. We're going to leave that one right there.
Well, you do bring up an excellent point. in that regression, you have to be ready for regression. You have to be really, really ready for it. And I don't recommend it to everybody because you have to be in the right state of mind. You have to be ready to receive what's coming through. And it can be shocking. And so when people ask me, should I have regression? I'm like, really can't answer that question for you. That you're going to have to answer that question yourself. Like, are you ready to know? Are you ready to know?
Because you're butt naked. I mean, you are exposed. And my thing, which is where I think you were just about to, where you were about to go. You need to have a therapist that you trust.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that has to be there for. Don't go searching online, right? And pick somebody. No, you need to. There's got to be the reason why I went under as fast as I did, it was seconds, by the way. I don't even remember it happening. It happened that quick, and I was like tumbling. I mean, I was fully committed, man. I mean, I just went right there. Why? Because I wasn't thinking anything about Sarah. Or you know what I mean? And because we had that comfort zone, that's already been broken down. Those barriers don't exist. There's an extreme amount of trust there. And I went right there. And I also told Sarah nothing. Told her nothing. I said, I trust you. Let's see what happens. And that's it. It wasn't like I sat down and said, okay, I need to lose weight. I need to quit smoking. I need to find out what happened when I was abducted. Whatever. I didn't know. Nothing was preloaded. We just had a conversation. And yeah. And so you have to have somebody that you trust. It's very important because you're so exposed.
Yeah, not only that you trust, but someone who has experienced regressing ET contactees. Not every regression therapist has experience in that. And so for those of us who deal with experiencers who are counselors or guides or whatever you want to call us, therapists, whatever, there aren't many of us in the world. There's just a few of us, but we're out here and we want to help very, very much. And so it is easier to find people more than ever, not only with therapists, but also with support groups. And MUFON's there to help you too. It's easier than ever to get help. So to go through this all by yourself and, people have killed themselves over this.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, you know what? That's why if you feel that, right, that you have possibly gone through this or have had contact and you're holding it in, you know what? Go watch People of Earth. Honestly, go watch. In fact, watch both seasons like 3 times back to back. Because that's exactly, I would love to have been part of that group and to go and say, that's how you talk through things. And now it's a comedy, and you know what? And if we can't laugh at ourselves, right. And so get some brevity in, loosen up a little bit and go watch People of Earth. And then reach out to an organization like MUFON. Reach out to Kathleen. Reach out to you. And if it's possible to do that, or you know what else? Go to a conference. That's a very releasing thing to do, where everybody in the room is talking about when they were abducted last week. Right. And you can go, right. And you can go and listen and talk freely without judgment. Mm-hmm. And that's a very, very good therapeutic thing to go through.
Yeah. The most important thing is to talk to somebody who is not judging you. And if you can't find that in a friend or family, then you do have to go to someone like me or Kathy or MUFON or something like that. Did you know that Conan O'Brien was a producer of People of Earth? I
I
know,
did.
that's why it's so good.
Well,
And
he looks like an alien, so we can
yes,
kind of.
he does. Yeah.
I can't believe they didn't do a season 3. I was so upset about that.
Yeah. Do you want to hear about my Roswell story that involves that show?
I've been trying to circle back to that like 4 times. What the heck happened in Roswell?
Okay. So I was with the gentleman who found the X's on my tush, but this is before the X's. Maybe a year or 2 before the X's. And so he worked as what was his title? He was like a project manager for a brand new missile defense program that our government was creating on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. And so for 1 year, we actually lived on Kauai. And I just went back and forth from Kauai. I was living on Capitol Hill, going back and forth for a year. So this time I was on Capitol Hill and he calls me and he says, I have to go to White Sands Missile Range for work. Why don't you meet me over there in El Paso? I'll pick you up. I'll take you to White Sands and then I'll take you to Roswell. And this came up out of the blue. I had no idea this was coming. I have been wanting to go to Roswell ever since I was a little girl. I was shocked that he even said it. And so the whole thing was very strange how it happened like that. So long story short, we went to White Sands Missile Range. Have you been there?
I've been to Roswell. Yes. I haven't
Okay.
been to White Sands, but I've been in the area. Yes.
I will never go to White Sands Missile Range again. Well, hopefully I won't have to go, because as soon as we pulled up, like all the hairs were up on my body. And I just kept seeing in my mind's eye these rooms and hallways under the ground. And it's at the base of this big black mountain. And I just got creeped out. I had horrible feelings. I didn't want to be there at all. But he wanted to show it to me. So there's a museum and everything. So we went through it. And then finally, when we were done, I just ran out and I said, I never want to come back here again. And then we went off to Roswell. And we had a good time going to the museum and everything there. And we were both really tired, went to our hotel room. So I'm sitting on the bed, he's in the bathroom, and I'm flicking through the channels. And I thought to myself, I wish the show People of Earth was on. And I knew it was over. I knew it wasn't going to be on. So he comes out of the bathroom and I stop the TV on a commercial. And he says whatever he has to say. And I turn the TV back on. I don't even turn the channel. And poof, People of Earth is on. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. All right. So he had never seen it before. So we watched 2 episodes and it was funny and we laughed and we went to sleep. Well, the next thing, my eyes ding, pop open and pitch black in the room. I can't even see my hand. Pitch black. But I can hear something or someone walking on the carpet, and then I feel him get into the bed. And the first thing I think is, why was he sitting on the couch? Was it because of the aliens? And I go back to sleep. So I wake up in the morning, he's in the shower. And I'm thinking to myself, why did I think he was sitting on the couch? First of all, I couldn't see. And he never gets up in the middle of the night and sits on the couch. It's not something he does. And why did I think it was the aliens? And then all of a sudden, I have this download, just this gush of a memory where the night before, I was with a group of Greys. And they were talking about a book I was writing at the time. And my attitude was, who the hell are you to tell me what kind of book to write? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to do anything you want me to do. And they also gave me information about the hybridization program. And when I went to sleep that night, I didn't know any of this. But I woke up and they told me that there are millions of people involved. It's being done because the Greys have annihilated themselves pretty much, and they lost the ability to be empathetic and sympathetic, and that's why they annihilated themselves. And so they're pretty much have this hybridization program with humans that are very loving, pretty much wear their heart on their sleeve. Most have stronger than normal psychic abilities. And that these embryos, there's billions of them, and they're splicing and dicing DNA to create these beings that are very loving, very intelligent, and psychically or their psi abilities are very strong. And that at one point there was a fear in the galaxies, what if unkind group of beings gets a hold of all these embryos, they turn them into killing machines. And I was told that these embryos have been created so that they're so loving that they would make horrible killing machines. And then I was told that the embryos would be used to reseed this planet if we annihilate ourselves. And I was told we are on the path of annihilating ourselves, not Earth, but humans. But I was also told that it's not too late and we can turn around, but we stepped on that path.
Heavy. I'm just going to use the partner. You're getting the download. He's in the shower, right?
Oh, yes. More to the story.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you finish, but I want to ask you this question. Did he have a memory of the night before?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So when he came out of the shower, I asked him, did anything happen last night? And he goes, yes. And he was very uncomfortable. I said, what happened? He said, I have never experienced this in my life, and I don't even know how to describe it. But there was something in this room last night, and I couldn't go to sleep. And I kept getting up, and I was looking for it. There was something in this room looking at us. And it was so bad that finally I just had to get out of bed and go sit on the couch. And I watched you toss and turn and toss and turn, and I thought you were awake. And then I told him what happened, and we were both just freaked out. For the rest of the trip, we were looking up at the sky to see if we were seeing anything. And I thought, okay, when I go back home to Capitol Hill, I'll be okay. But when I got back home to Capitol Hill, I was not okay. And for 1, 2, 3 months, I was not okay. It was not going away. And that's when I confided in a friend, and that's when she said, why don't you see a regression therapist? So all of my experiences are conscious experiences that I talk about. I don't really talk about the experiences I had in my regression, although in my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, I dedicate an entire chapter to my regression, and I write it almost word for word what was said, because my partner at the time went to my regression with me and wrote everything down. And so to hear it from his perspective was very interesting, because he watched me being regressed and he said, I don't know what that was, but that was something real, because you were using words you don't use. You were saying, and you were talking in ways that you don't talk. It didn't feel like that was you. So I don't know what I just witnessed, but that was something bizarre and real. And I've talked about this with Kathleen Marden. What is hypnosis? What are those memories? Are they real? Are they real? Or are we making them up? And because I don't know, that is why I personally prefer not to talk about my regression, because I don't know what that is. It could be real. It could. I'm not saying it's not. It could be real. And regression has helped so many people. And there's a lot of positive aspects to it. But because I'm not quite certain what that is, I like to stick to the memories, the conscious memories I have of my ET contact. And my MILAB, military abductions. I've had about 5 or 6 of those.
You and I are, walking the same walk here. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm glad that I did the session. I'm glad for a lot of reasons. One, I've now gone through the experience. So I know the process. right? And that's very important when I'm talking to others about their sessions that they've gone through. Now I've had the experience and I can ask questions a certain way. I'm so happy for that. The other part of it, where, and I said this on the show many times, you just said it yourself. I went back and watched the tapes. I've done it a few times now, and I didn't do it for 6 months until recently. I couldn't go back. I was still unpacking it, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I went back and I'm like, I don't use those words.
Mm-mm.
I don't use that kind of sentence structure.
Right.
And I also thought I sounded pretty smart. and I'm not that smart. Who you see here on the show, the doofus on the show, this is me, right? I'm not pretending, I'm not wearing a mask. This is just who I am. And that's okay. The person speaking in the session sounded so, it's like the alter ego me or something. It's the me that went to college. Right? It's like weird. And even after the session, Sev, I'm not using those sentences. I'm not speaking that way. I'm not relaying those ideas or those thoughts. I haven't been repeating them for those reasons that you just stated. I'd rather stay here in reality. I learned a lot from it, and there's a lot there, and it's very, very interesting. But I'd rather leave it there and then come back to, like you said, the actual stuff that I can touch and feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just on the fence. I don't want to diss it. I don't want anyone to think that I'm dissing it. I'm not. I just don't understand it.
Now, you did 3 hours. I did an hour and 11 minutes. Isn't that strange, by the way? The timer when I came out was 1 hour and 11 minutes.
How did you know I did 3 hours?
You said it earlier.
I said 3 hours?
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Well, how would I know? I can tell you is I have a lot of gifts, but mind reading isn't one of them. I don't have that one. No, you said 3 hours earlier.
Oh,
but,
that's interesting. I forgot that it was 3 hours until you just said it.
I don't know. 3 hours, an hour and 11 minutes. When I came out of it mentally, I was drained. So I don't know if I could do a couple of sessions in a year. I don't know. It's too much excitement, and it's too much to unpack. I just don't think I could do it. How did you feel after 3 hours? That must have been exhausting.
Well, we had a 3-hour ride home, and I did not talk. I couldn't talk, and I was buzzing. I was just somewhere else. Like I wasn't here. And so it was just silence. And he was processing stuff too. So we just kept really quiet. And I said to him, I want to talk about this, but I want to wait a few days. So let's you and I just not say anything about what we experienced for a few days. Let's talk about it. And then let's get together and have a discussion when we've kind of tried our best to understand what happened. But if anyone does go and have regression therapy, I do suggest you go with someone because there's no way I could have driven home.
Yeah, I had my production team with me. Thank God. Thank gods. Because if I would have been alone, wow. And now, before we wrap, we're at the end of the show. I mentioned a possible military component with my experience. And I've heard this, from many, many, many people over the years that they are with ET, and then in the back of the room, there's somebody in a military uniform, right? That's, United States Air Force or what have you. That would suggest so many different possibilities. What does that suggest to you? And with your MyLab experiences, was there an ET and military component going on at the same time?
Yes. So I can remember 5 or 6. One of them was absolutely horrible. It's still very hard for me to talk about. I get emotional talking about it. Another one was bad. And then 3 of them, I think, were kind of more neutral. But there's one more thing I want to say about regression. I urge people not to get regression online, because once your therapist, pops off your screen, you're sitting in there in your house all by yourself dealing with this stuff, and it could be too much to handle. Regression should be in person. Okay. So I don't even know which experience to talk about, but my experience is whenever there's a human there, it just messes things up, and it gets bad, and it gets evil, and they have bad intent. And that has been my experience when I have been with humans and ETs. I don't know where I was. I don't know who these humans were. But one time they wanted me to do something. We're debriefed. The reason we're taken there is because we're debriefed, because they want to know what we've been taught and what we've been told. And my very, very first MILAB conscious memory, it was the night that I talked to Kathleen Marden for the first time. And right after I talked to her, I called my mom, and my landline went dead. And then I had a MILAB experience that night. And so that experience, I was in this office with human beings. There's always these young men, and they're dressed just in drab clothes and really short hair. And I was standing in front of this big poster with this young man standing next to me. And I drew a picture of the poster. And on the poster, I have a biology degree. And on the poster was the flight path of a UFO. And along it were all these equations, mathematical, scientific equations. And he turns to me and he asks me, when does the spaceship attain the K point? And then I don't remember anything else. So I'm like, I didn't remember learning about the K point in college. And I looked it up, and it's a real thing. And I really don't even know if I completely understand it, but I did hear the K point mentioned when I was watching the Winter Olympics. And that sport where the person skis off, and then they're in the air, and then they come down. And one of the speakers was talking about the K point of the skier. So then I mentioned this to Grant Cameron, and he sent me information about another experiencer who was with the Greys, and they were teaching her about the K point.
I'm looking at it now. The K point is known as the construction point, or K point, and is a formally critical point that is a line across a ski jumping hill. That is the K point. And here is, wow, this is interesting. So I'm looking at the formula for it now. And isn't that interesting? It's K. Okay, so check this out. Okay. I never knew this. This is why I do this show right here, Sev. Right here. This is exactly K2 minus 2K, or K plus 1 is to 1 is to 2K plus 1 is 3. Wow, the point. Okay, K. Wow. Okay, I did not know. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then in another Milab, which was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience, they wanted me to do something psychic. And I refused to do it because I knew that it was going to be bad. And I refused. And they tortured me, like mentally tortured me horribly. And at one point, I actually thought I was going to die. And I'm like, all right, like if you're going to kill me, then kill me. Like I'm not going to do what you want me to do. And I just kind of closed my eyes and I thought they were going to kill me. And I closed my eyes and I said to them, I love you. And I waited and nothing happened. And I opened my eyes and they were just looking at me. And I felt that they were thinking, wow, if we can't even use her life to get her to do something, like she's not going to do anything for us. And then I don't remember any more Milab experiences after that one. I'm not saying I didn't have them. I just don't remember them.
Right.
It was so horrible. Oh my God. Because there was a lot more to happen than that.
Happy Valentine's Day on that note. Where can everybody reach out to you?
Thank you. Well, I have my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, on Amazon. My website is planetsev.com. And if you are an experiencer looking for help, please contact me through my website. You can tell me about your contact and I will respond to you. Also, my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. And I also have a planet and a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system. And for anyone who watches Andor, they recently mentioned my name.
Yes. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Right? Is that the point where, and I've had some cool moments in my life, is that the point where you go, well, okay, all right.
Well, it was a wonderful gift from my friend who's an author. He wrote the story many, many, many years ago. Okay, he said he liked my name and he was just going to name a planet after me because he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And I do thank him because I feel like he gave me the gift of eternity, and it's a very nice thing.
You got the coolest name ever. I mean, so like I said, you can just go, well, yeah.
And since it's Valentine's Day, my first name Sev means love and Tok means full.
Full of love on Valentine's Day. Sev, thank you so much. I look forward to our next conversation, and hopefully we're not going to wait this long. Okay. So thank you so much, Sev. Happy Valentine's Day. Behave out there. Go have some fun. Bye. Sev Tok. What an amazing conversation. And planetsev.com, the links for that are below. And again, over on our website and on social media. Everything is right there. All right. What's going on tomorrow night? Oh, Damien Abraham is with us tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about technology and parapsychology. That's right. Tech and Psi tomorrow night. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, John Aside. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm Yosemite Church. Until tomorrow night with Dr. Damon Abraham, I want you to be safe. Happy Valentine's Day. Göbekli Tepe.